The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello and welcome to the new episode of Mindfulness in Action. My name is Dalida Turkovic. I'm calling in from Serbia, and today's episode title is The Body That Knows, and my dear guest is Yael Schweitzer, a very good friend. We've known each other for a while, and I will introduce her professionally. So she's a psychotherapist and dance movement therapist who offers mindfulness-based movement workshops, presentations, and trainings internationally. We met in China, and yes, she reached all the way to China as well. She's very active in that community. She shares her therapeutic method today with us, which emphasizes movement rooted in physical awareness and offers simple dance and movement practices for healing, emotional clarity, and human connection. So, Yael, I'm welcoming you to today's show. It's morning in US, so it's morning for you, it's late afternoon for me. And what a treasure and gift for us to talk a little bit more. I always get inspired when we talk about what you do, and I personally experienced that. So just as a back note, last week we had a guest, Chris Germer, and the reason why I got to know Chris Germer is Yael Schweitzer. So there was a moment when we met in Beijing, and I remember how I was really curious about your methods. And at a certain point, you just looked at me and you said, Dalida, why are you so critical about yourself? I think you need to learn a little bit about self-compassion. And it changed my life completely. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful to you for that. And I would love to share with more people about what you do. And maybe we can just start on how did you come. I think maybe the original roots of you working with people was social work, if I remember correctly, right? And so there's a bit of trajectory in transition in everything that you've done. And how did dance movement come to the whole picture?
So first, thank you for inviting me. I feel it's a great honor, and I really cherish and appreciate our connection as well. And so, yeah, I started with, I'm from Israel, that's where my accent is, but I live in the US for almost 30 years now. And when I decided to study dance movement, social work, but with emphasis on mental health that always attracted me. And then when the first dance movement therapy program started in Israel, I was so lucky that I got accepted and participated, because always dance and movement, even though I'm not a dancer, it was more regular dance, folk dancing, very much expressed myself and helped me through difficult time that I went through in my teen age. So I did that and started working as dance movement therapist in hospitals, with in dance in mental health facilities. And as time and At a certain point, I got introduced to yoga and was very much attracted to it. Went to India and learned in a ashram to be a yoga teacher. And everything came together when I started to integrate it. And even when I went to India and there was this ashram, in the evening, I asked the people who live there if they want to dance, and we did some folk dancing. And as I continue and learn more things, I took the John Kabat-Zinn mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And when I started teaching it, I added movement, dance and movement. Another big part of what I integrate in the approach or model, I would say, that I developed, which I called mindfulness-based dance movement therapy, was the interpersonal mindfulness that is based on Gregory Kramer's insight dialogue approach. So also I added movement in it, because I feel that there is something in movement that can express ourselves and goes deeper or upper or to the side, I don't know what to say, but is more than just talking.
Yes.
And then when I was invited over 10 years ago to teach in China, and I had to create a program of 4 days, I put everything together and created this model of, it's mainly for groups, but it can be applied also individually, of integrating mindfulness practices and mindfulness approach with a movement improvisation. Maybe I will add one more thing, is that the movement part that is underlying, besides the dance movement therapy, my approach is a Mittler-based dance improvisation. So the one thing that I feel that is different in what I do than yoga, tai chi, qigong, all these mindful movement practices, is that it's all improvised and it's interactive.
Right. So there are a lot of elements there that I now see the connection is really mental health, as you said. So it's like if we are talking about one line that remained steady in your approaches, is that it's all dedicated to mental health. And now what I'm hearing is you're working with groups and individuals, and there's a lot about that interpersonal connection. And I have some curiosity, because you said when you go into the body, it's upper, wider, there's such a multidimensional experience, or maybe awareness, that we are called to bring. How does that work with interpersonal mindfulness?
Yeah, and I think that relationship are basic needs, and we are social animals. Everything that we do, or not everything, many things that we do are interpersonal. And there are some stories about people who sit in retreats and feel very elated and then come out and have fights with people around them. I don't say that it doesn't happen with people who practice mind, and even to myself, we are all human and have our moments. But what we want to cultivate and learn and bring more is how to be mindful, not just for what is happening within, which is thoughts, emotions, sensations, and everything that we experience, but also when we interact with other people. So dance is interactive. If you think about many of the dance that people do, they dance with each other. And when we do it, when we do it in a totally social way, and, even disco dance and things like this, if we are paying attention to our partners, there is something of give and take in the movement. So their movement, their physicality, their energy, their expression influences us, and that's how it goes. Now, in regular life, that's what happened. We meet other people, we talk, we share stories, we ask things from each other. So we are influenced from each other, and we learn to do it on or pay more attention to the nonverbal communication, and also what we want to express to each other. And it doesn't have to be in words. There is something about the connection that happens beyond words that is very moving and connecting.
It seems to me that we lost that capacity, and everything that our modern life is creating is to get more and more detached. We go to gym to activate the body, and then we are pretty much most of the time in our mind. But now, if we were maybe to bring this a little bit into the practical space, let's talk about what's happening right now with you and me, because our bodies are communicating as well. Although I'm very much aware of my headphones, and there's a bit of good kind of excitement and anxiety. We are live, and so how do we bring our bodies into this situation?
So what I noticed, because I see myself, which is also a very special feature of doing many things online, which we all now, or many people are used to because of the time of the pandemic. But I noticed that I talk and my body is talking as well. I'm not just sitting. I move my hands, I move my body, also, even though just my half body is being seen. So yeah, when we talk, it's this kind of, expression with hands, with the head, with the body, but also with the tone of voice, with the expression on the face. So it's different just to read messages on the phone versus talking with someone and talking and seeing someone. We all know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the current age of artificial intelligence, where we can just give the prompt and ask for the words to be polished in perfection, that we give the message to someone, that it's going to be in exactly the way we wish it's received. So maybe it's a little bit jumping off the topic, but what's your view of that? Because and you mentioned that sometimes we go and we do everything proper, we meditate, but after that we have a conflict, and like our bodies just are reactive. What's your take on that separation, where we intellectually do everything to make our words sound perfect, but physically we are losing the connection?
So I'm old-fashioned, so I'm not so involved as the young generation with doing everything through the phone. I'm not connected to it all the time. I'm better in taking it with me, but there was time that I even didn't take it with me. So I didn't count my steps because I was walking without it. But I think that it's important to have a more holistic or overcoming or overreaching view on it. I think that the technology is awesome. And it brought a lot of improvement to our lives. I think the fact that we can sit here, I'm in Portland, Oregon, and you're in Serbia, and have a conversation and let other people see us, and they can also see us later. So, and the fact that I can go and call someone if I need, or if I don't have time, I can stop in the middle of the street and have a conversation. So I think all these tools are very good. It's only the problem of how much we use it, which is true to almost everything. Eating is good, but it depends what you eat and how much. Connection is good, but also you need some time for yourself. So it's how to balance it. Artificial intelligence is very new, so I don't have much to say about it. I just lately started to use it a little bit here and there, but I believe that this is also can be an amazing tool to help us in many areas of life. But yeah, if it takes over, we'll see. We'll see.
It is pretty much taking over, and I think we are living in interesting times. It's a Chinese curse, actually. I wish you live in interesting times.
Yes.
It means it's really there's lack of stability and a lot of uncertainty and so on. So coming back into the way our bodies are conversing, I'm noticing that you're calming down. I was a little bit stiff, actually, when you were sharing, like you were using your hands a lot, and I was a little bit steady. And when we are talking about interpersonal mindfulness now, how would you invite the dance to become way of communication in this kind of scenario, assuming that we don't really need to dance? We are already dancing in a way, right? Even if there is no music. Really.
Yes. So I want to say, just if you don't mind, coming back a little bit to what you said before about the technology versus the real sensations. During the pandemic, the organization of, it's called ICD, International Organization for Association for Creative Dance, that is, as I said, the basic of what I do. We offered online sessions, dances, because people were confined, they couldn't go out, they couldn't meet, and we developed this ability to dance online. And until today, I teach once a month a free group for people to come and dance together. And there are many benefits from this, because you can do it from your home, you can do all kinds of things that you cannot do personally, like seeing where the other person lives and things like this. But the moment that it was possible to meet and dance physically, it's such a difference. You feel you can hear the breath, you can touch, you have a three dimension and not just flat. So there are, as I said, benefits from, and you can do a lot online, but also the internal connection or in-person connection and being in person has lots of benefit. So if I want to start, it's first by connecting to the body, and it can be through a just stillness meditation, a moment of checking in, how am I doing, my breath, releasing tension, and so forth. And then usually I start with what I call tune up and tune in. I relate to the body as the instrument, and the movement is the expression or the music of this instrument. So we tune up, or what in regular dance practices it called warm-up before you start moving, but also it's a tune in because I start to pay attention how the movement influence me. So it can start just with, regular stretch. Everybody knows how to stretch. And just noticing how I feel, what parts of my body wants to stretch. So I don't give, like in yoga, specific positions, but just start stretching, bending, twisting, or twisting the body. So sometimes I follow and see what people do, and I give the suggestion. And we go into more also relating to the joints, and some swinging and things like this. Sometimes when I work with a group, even through this tune up, tune in, I invite people to start connecting with each other. Like when you swing, you can swing towards somebody at the other side of the room or to someone next to you, or when you twist, you can see other people and so forth. Sometimes not, it depends in what I want to offer. So that's a very gentle, familiar, not threatening way to connect with the body. The reason I don't use music is because of the mindfulness piece. I really want people to listen to their body and see what movement comes from within. Now, of course, we are influenced also by our environment, by other people, but sounds, everything that is around. But music has a very strong influence. If you hear very beaty music, you start to move in this way, or if it's very calm, so you start with this kind of movement. Now, it's great. I'm not against it. I think it's wonderful. And in dance therapy, not in the mindfulness-based dance therapy, we use music. But in this approach, it's really putting the body and the movement and the expression that arises from within. If a sound comes, like if I allow myself the sound to come out, but not things that come from the outside.
There's some connection now as you're sharing this and reflection on what I've been exploring since I came back to Serbia. And I've been really looking for some ways to engage the body and enter the community as well, since I haven't been here for so long. And so I heard about 5 rhythms dance.
Yeah.
And so they do use music and everything. And on one of the sessions, there were kind of like instructions. There were prompts. So use your body to kind of like to say no, or use your body to say yes. Use your body to celebrate, and kind of like to act it out, and for us to get into it. And maybe there were around 12, 15 of us. I think we were mainly women. Shyness. There was a lot of shyness, and and if you were encouraged to use the voice as well, it was very much. Some people decided to step on the side, right? Like, and be kind of, I don't know, until the therapist. It's also led by a therapist. Said, okay, now act out the victim, and there was no need for explanation, because it's in the collective, and the way how the sounds that were there, within very short time, people were so deeply in the act of the victim. It was so real. It was really, really amazing to experience that. So the awareness of how much we accept certain roles, and I think that because I worked mainly in the international community. So there was like people come from all these different parts, but when we are in the local community, there's certain elements that come maybe like a template, right? So victim is known to people in this region very much. How do you work with that? I mean, obviously you're familiar with what I'm talking about, right? And how can one work with that collective element and in the interpersonal?
I don't remember working specifically on victims, but many other part of being sad or being not appreciating yourself, like what you shared at the beginning, using the mindful self-compassion. So when I teach, I come with a few topics for. Sometimes it's just general things that are shared human experience, and sometimes it's more direct. Like I did one workshop just on coping with anxiety, so it's the expression of it and also how to heal. And this is something that I want to say is that I see therapeutic work in kind of two ways. One is to reduce symptoms. I mean, to be aware of them and to work and to release, but also to elevate strengths and abilities and virtues. So to bring up what we do have and maybe not express enough. So that's just in general, but if you ask about the interpersonal, usually the way that I do it is first people experience by themselves, like what you described, yeah, that each one for them, if I understand correctly, just acted out or expressed in movement their sense of being a victim, yeah. So then in the interpersonal part, there are all kinds of ways that I could take it. Either that one is like, usually I start by having people in twos. Again, everything is not always, but the usual progression is that we start after we wake up and come to be present with the body and with the movement. We explore a theme on our own, so each person on its own, and then we do something together in twos. So either that one is doing the same, but now there is a witness, so somebody is observing and noticing what happens in their own body as they observe the others and then change, and then you can share your story. You don't have to get into details if you don't want to. It's more the expression and the thing that came up for you. And then they working, like dancing together, relating to each other when I feel vulnerable or victim, yeah?
Victim.
So you can take one movement or a few movements and then start to interact with someone else with this movement and see what develops from it. So it can be a sense, it may be a sense of connection and understanding each other. So the first one is being seen. And allowing yourself to be with what you have. And then the interaction can be bringing new movement, maybe from discovering my strengths, and maybe doing movement together help me feel not so much as a victim. I don't know. Again, I didn't work with this specific topic, but I can share with you something actually that I did this a week. I did my once a month online group, and I had a flare up in my body. I had some pain. I said, let's work on pain. Have it as and I read all kinds of things about this and how to be present with it and move with it. So I invited, and I participate as well because it's a small group and I do it because I want to do it. Start to move, kind of connecting to the pain and allowing this part of the body to start moving and seeing what's possible. And what happened to me and another participant is actually that we found the other parts wanted to participate as well, the part that feel better. And it brings the whole movement to be something more uplifting. And then when we work together, we brought these two parts together, and it even emphasized the strengths that we have. So, and the day after, I don't know if it's connected or not, but in my body, I felt much better and I still feel much better. So I would like to make some connection to the class that we have. And it's not a therapy, even not a therapeutic class. It's more self-development or joy.
Yeah, so of course you've done so many presentations at universities and publications and so on, and I know that there's a ton of research behind this, and that it's really followed, as you say. It's playful, but also it can be very deep, and there is the reason behind the methodology, right? So when people connect, like, because we learn how to be disconnected from our bodies, we learn how to numb our pain, how to take the painkiller, or how to remove the emotions, or absolutely not see the victim part. There's some sense of shame there can be, so it's like, oh, don't tell anyone, and so on. And yet here you're talking about your work being so much inviting to go exactly into those parts that we are taught to just neglect. So I kind of like have intuitive knowing that that is really right way to go. Could you share a little bit more? Why is it important to go there where it hurts?
So I believe you heard part of it from Chris Germer last week. That's by the way, I integrate it as well in my work, and we do it in movement.
Mindful self-compassion.
Mindful self-compassion. Because, and in the program, if it's okay to give credit there, they have all this soothing touch. So many times I start from that, but then we move with it. We really move around, and then we move with each other with this sense of care and connection. And I talk a lot about touch and what is okay and what okay, but we do touch in our interactive movement, of course, with consent and everything that is involved with it, that people feel safe. So I think one, that when we ignore something, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And again, sometimes ignoring is okay. I don't say that we have to be with our pain all the time. Sometimes just, I don't know, watching a funny movie and forgetting about the problem in the world, it's totally fine. But if we want to be mindful and if we want to also learn from it, I think that coming to it, but with a sense of compassion, of listening to it. There is a lot of wisdom in what the body wants to tell us, and actually we bring our awareness to listen to this wisdom and learn from it, and not to. The reason we have pain in the body is that the body tells us something is wrong. People who don't experience pain can really hurt themselves very badly, because if I put my hand on something hot, I immediately go away from it because I want to protect myself. But if I don't feel it, I can burn myself. So the pain, if we understand that the role of pain is to call for our attention, that we need to address something, it includes, by the way, emotional pain, then the wisdom comes. Now, is it true that every time that I bring awareness to my pain, it goes away? Of course not. I wish it was like this. But sometimes we can learn, we can change things and slowly improve and heal.
Mhm. I'm currently spending a lot of time with my parents, and they're in their 80s, and they have their regular rhythm of going for all medical checkups, and then they see the doctors, and then they feel good, or they got their stack of medicine, and then they feel they're taking care of their health. But then when I ask them, so why is that, or what does that medicine mean, or they usually say, I don't know, doctor said it. So is this complete giving away the authority of their own health and healing to another person. And what I'm hearing here is really an invitation to gain wisdom for knowing how to take care of ourselves first. And it's maybe one of the hardest questions that I also experience through coaching clients and in my personal life, and answering, what do I want, what do I need, is often is like, I don't know, I don't have a clue, and let alone coming and connecting with the body, and again coming to that sense of shyness, especially when it's being done with other people. So for someone who is maybe just becoming curious and would like to explore this, but is not ready to go and maybe join a group, or to really dive in, what would you suggest could be some maybe mild introduction to connecting with the body on a daily basis as a practice?
I think there is a difference between just connecting to the body and expressing it in movement and the interpersonal part.
Please share. Can you share? Yeah.
Yeah, so just connecting to the body, as I said at the beginning, even just starting to move it in any way that you feel like you want. Even not sitting, getting up, starting to walk and look around and just move a little bit. So, I mean, we are all moving all the time. there is a little trick that I do with people in groups. Sometimes I have questions and I ask people to stand in groups, like sometimes according to their professions, or anybody has already experience with mindfulness, just read about it, or nothing at all, just to have a sense of kind of an introduction part. And then I ask who use dance or who is a really good dancer or something like this. I don't remember exactly. And who is not, or who has experience with dance movement therapy and who never, and also going. And then who has experience in movement here and there. And of course, there are always some people who say, oh, I'm not a mover. And I said, of course you are. You just came here. You walked from the car to the room. You are a mover. We move all the time. So it's mainly about bringing awareness to the fact that we are moving, that we are breathing. And I think that the obstacle sometimes is that we think that it's something big to connect. And I know that I use the word, listen to the, excuse me, to the wisdom of your body. So you are sitting and you're thinking, oh, what really my body has to tell? Sometimes nothing. It's not that there is a big revelation every time. It usually comes as a total surprise. But if you just stretch your body, or even if you touch yourself and you are aware that it's comfortable, or actually I need to do it more gently than strong. Or I actually would like to take a sip of water. My throat told me that. This is listening to the body. It doesn't have to be, revealing unconscious episodes from the past. Now, it can go there. But as somebody who is shy and I'm not sure, or actually really disconnected from the body, starting very simple and acknowledging the very simple as important. So people can do it in their home on their own, just doing whatever they do and be aware that this is what they are doing. Yeah. I brush my teeth. Yeah, the very well-known mindfulness practice in everyday life. But if you really do it, it's amazing to feel the freshness, to feel the taste, that's listening to the body.
It's basically bringing the sense of being alive,
Yes.
I mean, right? And I would say that it's one sign of depression is probably the disconnection from the body, when we go too much into the head, and when we are so much trying to figure it out from the mental state, and then feeling like less and less trust in our decision-making process, but body is not moving, body is not being engaged. And then the element of being disconnected from others as well, though that is also the sign of depression, right?
Exactly. And I think that sometimes we can go from the outside in, like if somebody is very depressed and really there is this, what you say, the no movement, to start with very small movement, even just of the fingers or a little bit the shoulders. If they are willing to do that, it can then grow and develop. So sometimes really inviting people to start moving and doing what they can. And again, it's not that from today to tomorrow, it's necessary. If it's a real depression, it can be a long work, but some of the mothers of dance movement therapy started in Marian Chase and Judy, I forgot her name at this moment, Shoup, started with very severe depressed or even catatonic clients and managed to help, but with a lot of patience and willingness to stay with it and acceptance, no judgment, help people to get out of it. And I want to say that with individual clients and in groups, I always tell them, you know what is the best for your body. So please accept everything that I given as an instructions, as an invitation. It's not an order. And if you don't want to do something, sometimes observing is good as well. That's for groups. Or I can give you a replacement or give you a suggestion of what you can do differently. So, like there are some people who cannot connect to their breath. It's very threatening. I had one client that actually had a problem. She couldn't focus on her breath. So we focused on the body or on touch or on movement. And I avoided talking about, now she kept breathing throughout, but it's so, I think that's what I call the art of therapy. There are some ideas about how to work, and then there is each time, each moment brings new challenges, and you have to find out how do I, as a leader of a group or as a therapist, help cope with this.
So we just have a few minutes before we end our conversation for this time. I'm sure you and I are going to continue to talk, and which I really cherish. But maybe I would like to bring a little bit more of a global perspective as the finishing line. If you were to think about interpersonal mindfulness and connection with the body, what would be your message? Or what would be your hope perhaps in the coming years?
Yeah, I would love everybody to join the dance. And I think that if we connect with each other in this way of listening to ourselves and others and accept others as they are, ourselves as we are, and be able to communicate in words and with movement and feel our humanity, imperfection, but also the strengths. What I like about dance that it brings also joy and a connection of the energy and the liveliness, vitality that we have. And actually, many years ago, somebody who participated in I used to teach every week a group. Again, it was more for self-development. I didn't call it a therapy group, but then I asked people for an article in the newsletter to write about their experience. And one of them talked about how much she feels more connected to people and more open. And she said, just imagine going down the street, if everybody would be with this sensation, how different the world would be. So I was so moved reading this, because I even didn't saw the bigger picture of it. But I think that the compassion, the mindfulness, the connecting to the good in people and what unites us versus what makes us different. Oh, it could have been so much better. Or it could be in the future, maybe so much better. And everybody can benefit from it.
Yael, thank you so much. I hope that our conversation gives a little seed of that beginning, of that future, and the world heals a little bit. And for all those who are listening to us, this is Mindfulness in Action. My name is Dalida Turkovic, and we will see you next time.